Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live. And I'm just double checking that I'm out here live on my Facebook page, on my business page, which it looks like I am. And it'll take me just a second to pull up the comments here so that I can see when y'all are joining. But yep, okay, looks like we're all good and set to go. So today is our first official day of staying at home with the kids and trying to do school. So you will likely hear my younger daughter in the background. I can hear her talking. So she's next door. She wanted to stamp, and so she is grabbing her stamping supplies and is heading next door. And so she may be in and out a little bit. You may hear her in the background. So I apologize about that. But, you know, with schools being closed with this crazy corona business, there's not a whole lot I can do. So I'm just... we're just doing what we can, and she's, like I said, she's in here now, so she came to grab a couple things. So, hey, Patricia, thanks for hopping in today. So we'll just go ahead and get rolling, and like I said, just apologize for the noises in the background up front. So, all right, so today we are going to make this card that I use, the new Ornate Thanks stamp set bundle, as well as, and I'm going to get the names of them all wrong, the Ornate Layers dies. These are all items that are going to be in the new annual catalog, the 2020 to 2021 Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. And Stampin' Up! Is doing an early release with these products. So they are going to be available beginning on April 1st for customers. They're available right now for demonstrators, so we can go ahead and pre-order them. Customers will be able to order them starting on April 1st, which is awesome. So, hey, Danette, thanks for hopping in. I'm glad that you're here. So, all right, so this is the card we're making today. I'm going to set that aside while I show you quickly what we're using. This is the Ornate Thanks stamp set. Hey, Connie, glad you're here too. So the Ornate Thanks stamp set, which has got some good sentiments in it. I mean, it's a big stamp set. Yeah, it says 19 images in it. So lots and lots of good sentiments in here. I love the kind of mixed font look of it. So definitely a good one. And it is bundled in the next annual catalog with the... Again, I need to double check the name on it, the Ornate Border Dies. And so these two are bundled together for 10% off. It's all part of the full product suite, which has a whole bunch of stuff in it, but these two items in particular are bundled together. This cuts some really nice, very pretty borders and edges, and we are actually going to be using this border in particular on the card today. But yes, it's very good, Patricia. You're going to love it when you get it. So, all right, so we've got the dies, and then the other set of dies that we are using today is the again, Ornate Layers dies, and we're going to be using actually this die in particular, which is kind of the one plain one out of the whole batch that we're going to be using today, but it's a nice scalloped, kind of a long, narrow rectangle, which is great for sentiments. So that one is actually bundled with the Ornate Style stamp set. So it's one of those sort of like the Poppy suite that we have right now, except for obviously it's new products. So, but it's a similar thing where they've got designer papers and embellishments and the dies and the stamp sets and everything that coordinate with it. So, hey, Rosie, glad you're hopping in today. So let me set a few things aside here and try to get somewhat set up so I don't make too much of a mess. Just so you know, if you are not a demonstrator and are interested in joining or are interested in getting this product ahead of time, you can actually pre-order this with your starter kit. So if you join before the end of March, you get the awesome celebration bonus from Stampin' Up!, which is the little mini trimmer, the pack of 6x6 designer series paper, a free stamp set of your choice, and then you get to choose $125 worth of Stampin' Up! Merchandise, and it can be anything, including this new product, which is yay. So it can be anything in your starter kit. $125 worth of product. You pay $99. It ships for free. You will pay taxes if that applies in your area on the $99, but that is it. So you get all the extra bonuses and have the option of getting some awesome new free stuff or an awesome new product from the upcoming catalog in with your starter kit. So this is actually the full suite of products is $136.75, and that includes everything basically on here. But they also have it broken down where you can get just the stamp set and die bundle, just the designer series paper, and then you also have the other stamp set and die bundle, that's available as an option. And then some pretty embellishments, the Gilded Gems, the Ornate Garden Ribbon Combo Pack, and the Ornate Floral 3D Embossing Folder. So those are all items that are available in this new product suite. And like I said, they're available now for demonstrators and will be available for customers beginning on the 1st of April. So if you are interested in joining or have any questions about how you can get your hands on it now, let me know, and I'd be happy to answer anything for you. So let's get going on the cards. So I started with a terracotta tile card base, and I'm using a little bit of the pretty Ornate Garden Specialty Designer Series paper. So I love the daisy patterns in here. They're really, really pretty. There's also been some discussion. We keep going back and forth trying to decide which color. There's a new in color in this designer paper, and it's called Bumblebee. And so we're assuming it's one of the yellow colors, but we can't decide if it's the light yellow that you see in this flower or the darker yellow you see in this one. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards the darker. The rest of the group says it's the lighter, but I'm usually wrong. So they're probably right. It probably is the lighter colored one. So I'm just going to use, this is just a little piece of it we're going to put along the edge. Hey, Akiko, glad you're hopping in. And I see Jerry's here too. So thanks for joining, and hope you enjoy the video. So I'm going to use a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere that to the side of the card base. And this is cut to, I don't know, I think about 1.25 inches or so is what I cut it to by 5.5. And my card base is 4.25 by 11 and scored at 5.5. So all the details and the measurements and everything will be out on my blog post tomorrow. So, because I usually get them wrong when I say them in the video. But so they'll all be out on the blog tomorrow, as well as a link to that flyer that I just showed you, so that you can look at the products a little bit closer up and take a look and see what there is in there. So I went ahead and pre-cut this with the of course, again, I should have written the names down somewhere other than the flyer, the Ornate Border dies. So I used this die in particular and just trimmed down the edge of a piece of designer series paper, or a piece of terracotta tile cardstock with it. Apparently I have corona on the brain or something, I don't know. Anyway, so got a piece of terracotta tile cardstock that I've cut down with that particular die. And then I'm going to take the brick and mortar embossing folder, and I am just going to emboss right up to the edge. Hopefully you can see it on here. I'll try to hold it up close and let you take a peek at it, but I'm just kind of lining up the edge of the bricks here with the edge of the little die cut, and I am going to emboss this with the 3D embossing folder. The brick and mortar 3D embossing folder and the 3D embossing plate. So hang on one second. I'm going to wheel over here, run this through the die cutting machine. And one thing that, of course I didn't get it rounded straight, so now everything's twisted. And okay, here we go. Now we're wheeling. I know it wiggles the screen when I do this, so I apologize. All right. So one thing to know about the embossing folders, we've had a discussion a couple times in the past weeks with the team members about this. Stampin' Up! Has told us that the crease is supposed to go through the embossing or through the die cutting machine first. So just keep that in mind as you are using these embossing folders, it puts a lot less pressure on the crease if you run that through first. If you run it through the other way, it kind of pushes the top of the embossing folder, and you got a pretty good likelihood that you're going to break your embossing folder. So that's just one quick tip that I have, is make sure that you're running the creased side. Crease is probably not the right word, but anyway, the side that has the folded edge on it goes through the embossing or the die cutting machine first. So just know that when you're using any of the embossing folders. So, all right, so we've got that all embossed with the brick and mortar embossing folder. Going to add a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to the back of this. And doing that for two reasons. First, because it's kind of a larger panel and I want to make sure that I can wiggle it around. And second, because it is embossed, sometimes snail doesn't hold it particularly well when it's really bumpy and lumpy like that. So snail won't hold it as well as I like it to. So I like the cards to be able to last for a very long time. So I usually try to put them together with the multi-purpose liquid glue when I'm using something that's a little bit bumpier. So, all right, so we've got that adhered together. The next thing that I did was I took a little bit of the Ornate Garden Ribbon Combo Pack, and I used, it's Old Olive and Terracotta Tile. Very pretty ribbon. You get 2 spools in the pack, so it's one of the combo packs. And I just adhered it to the card front. I'm using a little bit of snail, kind of lower down, and it doesn't really matter where I put the snail because I'm going to put the sentiment right over the top of it anyway, so you can sort of, it doesn't have to look really very nice and neat on your snail underneath. So, and I sort of put it at an angle and made a little Z with it. So hopefully I can get it on here somewhat straight. Well, straight in a Z, if that makes sense. Get it laid on here, similar to how I had it on the previous card. And I think I'm going to trim down this edge just a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll trim it a little because I think it's hanging a little bit closer to the edge than I think it's going to look okay. So, yep, just trim it down just a little bit with a pair of paper snips. We're going to set that aside while I work on the sentiment. And the sentiment is from, again, the Ornate Thanks stamp set. We're going to do a little heat embossing, so we're using Versamark as our ink. And the So Grateful sentiment from the new Ornate Thanks stamp set. And just going to stamp that up kind of near the top on this piece of paper. If you're using a full-size sheet, you don't necessarily need to worry about it, but I just trimmed off a little piece here. And then we're going to use some gold Stampin' embossing powder. And we're going to heat emboss. So, whoop, I got it probably just off the screen. So I store my embossing powders in a little Ziploc type container so that it's easy for me to kind of dump the embossing powder back into the container. You can see I got a little bit of it here that's sticking and not wanting to come off. Probably put my fat fingers on it at some point. So, all right, that looks pretty good. So, I actually use these Ziploc containers because it contains the embossing powder very nicely and gives me something to sort of put my cardstock over the top, and I can shake it back into the container and keeps it from flying everywhere, hopefully, as long as I don't knock it over completely, which I have done before. So, going to turn on the heat tool a second here and let it heat up. And then we're going to do the heat embossing here. So hopefully you all are doing okay and everybody's staying well. I don't know, I haven't heard of anybody that I know personally who's gotten sick, so I'm hoping that you all are staying well. We're on I guess a self-quarantine, I guess is what I don't know, there's probably a better term for it, but everybody here, the schools are all closed, the restaurants are closed except for takeout, and grocery stores are really about the only thing that's still open kind of for normal business around here. So anyway, so I'm sure everybody else is probably in the same boat, but just it's been a little strange. So, all right, going to use a little bit of Old Olive ink to stamp a sentiment underneath the first one that I put on here. And again, this is one of them from the Ornate Thanks stamp sets. So I was saying where you are, kind of, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's a little odd, a little strange, kind of spooky, and all that sort of thing. So, all right, so got that stamped underneath in Old Olive ink. Meryl says that she loves the embossing of sentiments and staying in. So, yep, lots of cards to make. I agree. I'm just hanging out at the house as much as I possibly can. I don't know that it's so much craziness out there, and the grocery stores. Ugh. Thankfully, we kind of stocked up. Well, we're always kind of stocked up. When you got kids, you sort of have to do that. So we were stocked up ahead of time, so I didn't have to do that manic run to the grocery store that a lot of people had to do on Friday. So I'm going to use one of the dies from the Ornate. They call them, their names are too similar, and I can't keep them all straight. But this is the Ornate Layers dies, and I'm going to run it through the die cutting machine here quick. So wheeling off screen for just a second, and I know it's going to wiggle the screen around a little bit when I run this through the machine, so I apologize about that, but not really any way to do it other than having a totally separate table, which I don't have one of those yet. Maybe someday I will. So, all right, getting it lined up here. Hopefully, getting it run through straight. And I thought I had it straight, and then it looked like the die wiggled just a little bit, and I don't think that was straight anymore. So we'll try it again a second time here. That looks better, hopefully. All right, so there we are. We've got the die cut sentiment. It kind of says that in Ohio some of the tightest restrictions, so you're stuck for a while. Yep, definitely a good thing to have the craft room all stocked up. And the nice thing is the online stores are still open, so we can still order all of the awesome Stampin' Up! Goods for to keep us entertained. Or at least our UPS guy is still delivering. I've seen him up and down the street several times this week, so I'm assuming all is well so far with UPS. So hopefully it will stay that way, and they'll keep on delivering. So. All right, and using a couple little Stampin' dimensionals to adhere the sentiment to the card front. So, oh, we have another snowstorm warning in South Dakota. That sounds just not awesome at all. So hopefully it doesn't get that bad. Well, I guess the one good news is that the snowstorm will keep people in and away from, they'll stay out of trouble that way. So I guess that's a little bit of good news from it. So we're going to adhere this to the card front, hopefully. I can get it on here straight. All right, and that is it for the sentiment on here, so pretty basic. And then we have some of the new gilded gems, which are gold in color, which I don't know how well they show up on the screen, but they are gold and very pretty. And we have some of the little gems that I'm going to stick on here around the card front. And I find that tweezers hopefully help me. Now that I'm saying that, I can't get it to flip over. There we go. Tweezers usually help me with these types of things. Sometimes my hands work very well to pick them up and scoot them around, and then the next time I'm doing just what I was doing there and can't get it to stay still and stay where I want it to be. So, but these are really pretty little gems, and I love that they're self-adhesive. The larger ones are a little bit thicker, so you definitely will want to, if you're going to mail it, want to use that on a lower down layer, or put something over the top of it when you send it, just a piece of empty cardstock or blank cardstock or something over the top of your sentiment, or over the top of your card front, I should say, if you're going to mail it, just so that these don't get caught in the mailing machines, which they often do. So. All right, so that is it for the card front. So that's basically done. On the inside of the card, I just used a little piece of that same Designer Series paper from the Ornate Gardens specialty pack. And of course, I didn't use one of the pieces today, but what makes it a specialty pack is that it has got gold foiling on several of the sheets in the pack of paper. So it's really pretty paper. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go take a peek on my blog and look at the paper. And I did a video not too long ago, just a little quick sneak peek, and showed you all the sheets of paper in that pack. So hopefully you caught that, but it's really pretty paper. So, all right. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's flip this over and get this adhered to the inside of the card. Okay, and then I'm going to do a quick, of course my bone folder is nowhere to be found. I'm sure it's buried under a pile of stuff somewhere. So just use my finger, flipped it over. The reason I flip it over when I have things embossed all the way up to the edge is that if you run your finger or bone folder over the embossed area, you can kind of smash it down a little bit. So that's why I flip it over and kind of try to be a little gentle. So, all right, so that is it for my card share today. This is the one we made on the video today, and this is the one that I had made ahead of time. So hopefully you enjoyed the video and seeing some of the new products, and I appreciate y'all being here and spending part of your Tuesday with me. And I will plan to be back next week, Tuesday. I'm guessing until the kids go back to school, I'm probably going to be sticking with the 2 o'clock Eastern time frame, just because they have their online school stuff that runs right up until about 2 o'clock. So hopefully this time works okay for you. And like I said, I will probably switch back to 1 o'clock once the kids go back to school. But for the next couple weeks at least, we'll probably be sticking around with the 2 o'clock. I'll plan to be Tuesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time, live on Facebook. And then on Fridays around 2 o'clock Eastern time, live out on YouTube. So hopefully that works all right for your schedules. And if not, you can always catch the replay. So again, thanks for joining today, and hopefully you enjoyed catching a little peek of some of the new products. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be posting all the details on my blog tomorrow, so you can take a look then. Thanks again for joining, and we will chat with y'all soon.